Hello everyone and welcome back to the Red Door Yoga mini Sutra series online. I'm Kavita from Red Door Yoga and it's my pleasure to be here with you. Today I wanted to talk to you about language imperfect. Okay, so language is inherently dualistic. And what I mean by that is if I use a word, then I'm trying to convey a concept through that word. And if I'm conveying a concept, I'm conveying not that concept at the same time. So what I mean by that is if I say that the floor is hard, okay, then I am simultaneously saying to you that the floor is not soft. Okay. But here's the thing. The floor that I'm sitting on is actually hardwood. And I'm telling you that floor is hard. But if I was sitting on concrete, this hardwood floor would be very soft compared to that concrete. Okay? So, this is the problem with dualistic ideas, is that it's also an idea that doesn't quite get to the truth of things because all things are actually relative. Okay? Dualism turns things into black and white. It turns things into an absolute this, absolute not that. And that is not the reality of life. Now, the reason I'm talking to you about this is because language is often how we get ourselves in trouble with others. Where we're talking to someone and that conversation can become an argument. It can, step on people's stuff, yours included, and people can get riled up, and it can last, it can fester, it can cause rifts. And one of the biggest kind of problems here is often the use of language. My husband and I communicate very differently. I remember we've been together 20 years now, my husband and I. And I remember at one point in time, only a few years ago, becoming really aware during a conversation we were having that he and I are looking for two very different things when we're talking to each other. I am listening to the exact words that he's using. Every single word that he uses has a meaning to me, and I'm listening to the specific meaning of those words. He, on the other hand, isn't actually choosing his words in an exact way because he doesn't actually care about the words so much as he seems to care about the emotional import. So he's not listening necessarily to what I'm saying, the specific words, even though I'm putting in a lot of focus into making sure that my words are exact to say exactly what I mean. What he's trying to do is he's trying to read my emotional import. And as a result, that got us into trouble, right? Because he would use words that, as far as he was concerned, kind of gave me the general emotional feeling that he was after, but I wasn't looking at the emotion. I was going, those words mean this. And I should also mention that, my husband grew up in a household where two different languages were being spoken. His mother's French Canadian. His father is not. His father didn't speak a word of French, and his grandmother, who lived with them, didn't speak a word of English. So, and he went to a French school, but when they'd come home, they'd have to speak English because his father didn't understand French. So it was kind of a mixed language household in a way that if you've ever done a second language, I speak a few different languages, or I've learned a few different languages, and if you've ever done other languages, what actually happens is you choose words that are good enough. And so that's part of the reason I think that my husband looks for emotional import more so than the exacting words. And yet I grew up in such a way that vocabulary was drilled into you. You were given 20 new words every day that you had to go home from school, look them up in the dictionary, learn how to spell them, use them in a sentence, and then you would test it on them the next day. So, with that in mind, our frameworks bring to the table two very different approaches to language. And that can get you into trouble if you don't realize that the way you're using language is different from how the other person is using language. So I wanted to bring this to you guys today because if you are struggling with relationships, one of the things that you might need to look at is how you view communication and how others that you are in relationship with are viewing communication. Okay? This was a little bit of a long lesson, so I hope you stuck with me, and I hope this was helpful to you. Okay? I welcome your questions. I welcome hearing some of your stories, actually, related to language, related to, little bump ups that you've had and lessons that you've learned from there, and how this lessons I've given you about language imperfect, how this is affecting your interactions with others as we go forward. Okay? And again, I look forward to seeing you again online very, very soon. Namaste.